wasn't listening to the news. But because I listened to the news, or because you listened to the news, now you feel terrible. And I didn't feel terrible at all today because I didn't know about that. So the news didn't make me feel terrible.
Mm-hmm.
I decided to feel terrible because of the news. And that's one of the reasons why when you listen to Esther Hicks and Abraham Hicks, and she'll say, turn off the radio, turn off the TV, stop reading the paper. That, we read about all these horrible things happening all over the world. And she says, if we could find a newspaper that would print all of the really good things that are happening in the planet,
it would raise our vibration.
The number of bad things would be so minuscule you wouldn't even be able to find them in the paper.
And think universally, if everybody's vibration was that high, not dwelling on the bad, how good that would be. Mm-hmm. That's funny that I never had heard that story before, but this weekend I'm going to be at the Women to Women Expo, and I'm giving this talk, and one of them is to not watch TV news and not read the paper. Because, and I'm not saying you shouldn't be up on current events, and yet I am saying that.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's out of my control.
Absolutely.
There's nothing I can do but make the people around me live happy lives by being happy.
Exactly. And that's one of the tenets of the law of attraction, is that if I allow somebody else's mood to pull me off of my feeling of joy and happiness, then I'm out of my joy and happiness. I've let them pull me away from that.
So how do you not? If someone that you love is not coming from a positive place, how do you not get pulled into that?
Well, there's a couple of ways. One is you could just avoid them.
Right, good
just
point.
Just not interact with them anymore. Usually not all that effective, although it depends on who it is. If it's a relative and you don't have to have contact with them, then don't have contact with them. There are a lot of people like that. I've in relationships that I've been in, there were members of the family that nobody talked to because they were upset with them or angry or whatever the case might be because of something that happened.
Usually involving money or something.
Could be, or relationships,
or
whatever. Or it could even be religious-based. The person has gone and decided that they want to belong to a different religious community. And
you almost said cult, didn't
you? And others in the family would say, "Oh my God, how can you believe that stuff?" and that sort of thing. And the other way, I think, which is more effective in dealing with that sort of circumstance, is to look at it as contrast. So the person is behaving in a way that you don't like. Maybe they're being sexist, they're telling sexist jokes, or they're telling racist jokes, or whatever the case might be. Or the person is just going off on, how bad Trump is, or they're going off on how great Trump is, or whatever the case might be. And you might disagree with that. But if you let yourself get sucked into the other person's vibration, it's going to take you away from joy. And so the way to do that is to, as Esther suggests in Law of Attraction, to do a focus wheel in which you look at what it is that the person is doing that you don't like, and you imagine what it is you want from that person. And then you do essentially a inventory of the things about that other person that don't bug you. So maybe it's a member of your family that you don't like the way that they're raising their kids. Maybe the kids are running wild and they're getting into things that you don't think they should be getting into, and they're doing things that you would never let your kids do, or whatever the case might be. And so you can't really have a conversation with your sister or brother or whoever it might happen to be. And so hey, I really don't like the way that they're raising their kids. And so you start thinking about the things about them that you do like.
They're
they're very giving. They're kind. They're generous. And maybe even looking at that and saying, they're not trying to control their kids. They're letting the kids have their own lives. And you might say, well, yeah, but I don't like the way that, well, that's about you.
Right. That's your problem, not theirs. Right.
If I'm saying I don't like the way they're raising my granddaughter, that's on me.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in my circumstance, like I said, I have one granddaughter, and my ex-wife takes her and has her a certain amount of time. She stays over at her house, and she has a great time with her and her husband. And I'm really happy that the relationship is such a good one. And she's trying to help my granddaughter learn the alphabet, and she's trying to help her learn the numbers, and she's trying to help her learn all these kinds of things. And I was talking to my daughter about it, and I said, I'm really glad that she's doing that because I'm recess. And so I'm glad she's getting it. I'm recess. But I'm recess.
Right. You're the fun grandpa.
Right. And so when we get together and do things,
that's really a good idea.
I just let her have all kinds of freedom in terms of what she wants to do. And she'll say, I want to go do this. And I'll say, okay. And we'll start to do that. And then she'll say, no, I don't want to do that. I want to do this. And I'll say, okay. And so we have our little routine. And she just has a really fun experience when she's with her, and I don't judge it as bad or wrong or good or bad.
It's just the way it is.
I'm in joy, and she's in joy, and so that's the kind of thing that I want to reinforce with her, is that it's okay to not always have to be thinking that I'm 4.5 years old. I don't need to know the alphabet yet. I'm 4.5 years old. I don't need to know how to do mathematics yet. I'm 4.5. I went to watch a grandson of my girlfriend yesterday, and they're playing football at 6 years old, and they're on the team, and they got all kinds of rules of what they can do and what they can't do. And in between the plays, the kids are talking to each other on the other team, and they're jumping around, and they're 6. Okay, so we're going to try to structure them into this one thing about football, but they're 6, and so you can't just say stop doing that, or whatever the case might be.
Stop it.
Yeah, but that's the way some parents are, and so that vibrational energy then gets picked up by the kids.
Yes.
And so I remember. Sometimes when my granddaughter was younger, at 2 and 3 years old, and I would take her to do something, whether it was to the mall or to Target or whatever the case might be, and she had very definable things that she could do and she couldn't do, and that was okay, at 2 or 3. Don't do this and do that, whatever the case might be. So I was going to contradict those. But I just want her to know, like I guess Wayne Dyer learned, that everything is possible. And we have judgments about what's good and bad, and that's a reflection on my energy. Mm-hmm. And so if I think that what somebody is doing is bad or wrong, or what I think I'm doing is bad or wrong, I'm judging myself and I'm judging them as being
bad or wrong.
Well, different from the norm, or different from what should be doing. Well, I wasn't born with a should be.
Yeah, but we were all raised with should be's.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Did you ever read The Four Agreements?
Yes.
Oh my God, I love that book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a wonderful book. What are you pointing at?
I have it here in my bag.
Oh, really? See, and I have it at home. I love that book so much.
Yeah, I brought it with me today.
Cool.
I thought you.
I lent somebody
I guess you attracted
mine.
It. I guess you attracted
Yep. So, and it is hard. Wayne. One of my favorite sayings that Wayne Dyer said was, "If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change."
Exactly.
And when I'm focused on a project or something and it's not working out, I stand back and I say that to myself. I bet you I say that to myself 2-3 times a day. Mm-hmm. I do. Because it's so true, and it's a law of attraction thing. I mean, Esther Hicks says it all the time. She doesn't use those exact words. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So it's that curse or a blessing kind of thing. You can take any...
Exactly.
I'll give you a good example of that. So we have... our shows are loaded on our radio shows, get into the rotation right after we're on. And then at the end of the week, I have a guy that dumps them all into the archives.
Right.
But I have this one show that's on Thursday nights, and the guy dumps them on Thursday morning. So theirs stay a whole week, so it's longer than everybody else's. And they were upset about it because people wanted to hear that particular show. I've since remedied it, but so I told them, all you have to do is change the way you're looking at it. All you have to do is tell people that it goes into the rotation. The new shows are on the rotation, and they can listen to it 3 times during the week at a specific time, and the following week it will be in the archives. That's the way it is.
Right.
And people won't question it. Instead of, oh, people want to hear the show, people... and so that now they're fine. Now that they look at it like that, now they're fine.
Mm-hmm. I think as you're just talking about that, I mean, the one agreement and the 4 agreements I think most pertains to what we're talking about is don't take anything
things personally. That has helped my life.
Absolutely.
Don't take anything personally.
Right. That's right, because when somebody else says to you, and Marianne Williamson talks about this, and a lot of people do, and they say, you are such and such. It's telling you about them.
Right.
It's not telling you about you. It's telling you about them.
And if someone is crabby and yelling at you, they're not really yelling at you. Something's wrong with their life, and they're taking it out on you.
But if you, as Esther would say, if you let them suck you out of the vortex, if you let them suck you out of your joy, and
which is very easy to do.
Very easy to do, then you're giving away your joy for somebody else's issue. Mm-hmm. Now, they didn't make you angry. They didn't make you scared. They didn't make you upset. You chose it based upon what they said or what they brought to you. And so that's a hard one. And she talks about that a lot. If you go on and listen to her website, or you read any of the books or any of the videos that she's done.
Or any of the YouTube things that she has there. And that's a common complaint or a common problem that people in the hot seat talk about.
Yes.
So, and I love that. Another one of my favorite quotes are from Peter Drucker.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
And it's the only way that you can be sure of your future is to create it.
Right.
And that's a law of attraction, manifestation kind of thing. What is the difference between law of attraction and manifestation?
The difference would be that the premise of the law of attraction, it's maybe, just shades of difference, but manifesting would be, in a sense, I'm going to create the future that I want. And in order to do that, I have to attract these components to that manifestation. So, in the words of Abraham Hicks, when I decide that there's something I don't want, and so now I know that I do want it, that gets created in my vibrational vortex immediately. And what I have to do then is I have to figure out how to get my time-space vibration, my human vibration, to align with that vibration. And so people will say things like, well, geez, I really... I want a better job. I want to make more money. I want to have more security. Where is it? How come I don't have it? Because I'm focusing on that. And you're telling me that if I focus on it, I'm going to attract it. And that's partially true. That's partially true. Mm-hmm. But if I don't feel joy and happiness, I'm not going to be a match for my manifestation. Mm-hmm. And so the key is that those things that I have joy and good feelings around in terms of my person will manifest themselves, and the universe will arrange for that to happen. Now, it's a very small thing, but it has been a sense of amusement for my family for a long time. It's now a sense of amusement for my girlfriend that I find parking places right by the door.
And I do too. And lights. I'll get all green lights when I'm running just on time. I'll say, okay, I need all green lights today.
Exactly. And from my perspective, when I'm in a hurry and there's somebody going slow in front of me, or there's stoplights, or there's an emergency vehicle, or everything else, I just say, wow, I guess I need to slow down. Mm-hmm. Because if I was supposed to be there, I'd be there.
Right.
I'm not supposed to be there yet, so I'm not going to argue. And this was a great quote that Dyer had on the tape, where he was talking about when he was teaching at Wayne State, and he would try to drive into Detroit, and he'd be stuck in this traffic, and he'd be so angry because he couldn't get there in time, and the traffic and so one day he just said, the traffic doesn't care.
Right.
when I get there.
Right.
And as soon as he let go of it, he started listening to, audio tapes. He started learning a language.
Right.
He started using the time he had for something positive instead of always beating up the traffic, which